Hello YouTube users. Today on the Handyman Zone we're gonna rewire a lamp. It's a nice simple repair. Any of you could tackle out there. Housewife, college girl, geek guy, no good with tools, anything like that. It's a nice simple repair. We're gonna do a quick video, and this would cover like rebuilding or fixing an existing lamp, or even like taking some object d'art and turning it into a lamp. You could also expand from this video and use the skills and knowledge you're going to gain from watching me do this one to lamp up anything. So here is our victim today. Now this is just a decorative lamp figurine with the clip-on shade, and it has the push button switch, and although the head is missing, we're going to ignore that because this lamp is just for demonstration purposes. The figurine is missing the head. It's like a Marie Antoinette lamp. Now this one has the push button, which I tend to like personally, and I also think it's good for older people who may have trouble with those kind that you twist. But as we're doing this, let's go down the line. The tools you will need is a wire cutter, or if not handy, a utility knife. Channel lock pliers certainly come in handy. A screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver, and some of this green felt. You're going to need a replacement lamp socket. Now this one has the turn button, but also available would be like this one has the pull chain. This is a pull chain one. You could switch it over just as easily, or you can get another push button one. They're sold in a variety of configurations. Also, what we're going to need is a replacement plug for the cord, and possibly some green felt for the bottom, because as you can see, this lamp, they used like a scrap of green felt. So we're going to replace that with some solid green felt. We have inspected our cord and found it to be in good condition, although the plug is in desperate need of replacement because it's old. And we also want to shorten up the cord a little bit. That's another option available to you. If you find where you have your lamp placed, there's a lot of cord hanging on the floor, and perhaps it's getting in the way when you clean and it's looking quite messy, take this opportunity to shorten up the cord. It's always a good idea to have the cord like the exact length that you need. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure it's unplugged. We don't want to get electrocuted. And when I'm working on things, I like it nice and neat and tidy, so we are going to coil up this cord just to keep things neat. First thing we're going to do is remove the bulb. This is where the channel locks are going to come in handy. We want to get this cover off. Sometimes you'll see a little inscription that says press, and if you have good hand strength, you can actually press and work this off. But I don't have good hand strength for that, and I'm sure a lot of you don't. So I use my channel locks, and gently, I'm putting the channel locks right around the rim here, and gently, I'm gonna push and work this cover off. Oh, you can see the condition of this old one. The Bakelite button had just disintegrated. Okay, so I gently pushed, and I slipped the cover off, because a lot of times you're going to want to reuse this cover, especially on an antique lamp where the new cover is like a bright shiny brass. Unless you're going to like lightly go over it with some spray paint to tarnish it up. The new cover is a shiny brass color, and it's just not going to look good with an antique lamp. So the inside guts will fit. The table's crooked. It will fit in the old cover, so you could feasibly use the old base, which is this thing, and just change this and put the old cover back on. It's a possibility for you. Now quickly I'm going to inspect the wiring inside this cup here, and it looks very nice. Sometimes the cups will have a lock screw here. And this one does have the lock screw, although it's missing, but if it did, we would just put our screwdriver in here, loosen up the lock screw. We're going to grasp this and just twist it off. There's a threaded lamp part in here, and we're going to take that off. And again, we're going to inspect the wires. They appear to be in good shape, which is a definite good thing. We are going to put the new base on it, and as you can see, this one does have a locking screw, which we're going to loosen up at this point so that if you can see when it's tight, that screw goes all the way through. We're not going to be able to screw it onto the lamp tube, so we're going to loosen it up. We're going to put our wires through. Well, actually, at this point, we're going to twist our wires. Always twist clockwise, because that way when the next person comes along, they know that everybody always twists clockwise. And let's just give it a gentle twist like that, just so we can get it through. Now we're going to, again, lefty loosey, righty tighty. We're turning to the right. And we're going to make this nice and snug, because this kind of holds the whole lamp together. It holds this piece on, which is held onto this. So I'm going to get it nice and snug. And then we're going to tighten our locking screw. Now we have our two wires here, and we're going to attach these to the new socket. We're going to loosen these screws up to make room for the wires, and they're kind of keyed that you can't, you really have to struggle to loosen them enough where they would fall out, but they do loosen enough to give you space to put the wires on the new screws. So again, we're twisting clockwise, and I'm going to put a little hook in each wire. Now you might ask, does it matter which side goes to which? I say not really, because it's just when you put your universal plug on and you're going to put this on, chances of you having it hooked up the way you intend to hook it up is not going to work out that way. But these lamp cords, on one side there's like kind of like ribs, and on the other side it's kind of smooth. I like to put the ribbed one on the darker terminal. You'll see this one's kind of a copper colored, and that's a silver. I like to put the ribbed one, I'll feel for the ribs. I like to put the ribbed ones on the darker terminal. So I have my little hook shape, and I just kind of, any way I can, I get it in there nicely. Of course, we want a nice connection. And now I'm going to snug it up and maybe hold the wire with my thumb while I snug it up. I actually should switch to the Philly head at this point. You see, older stuff, they used a lot of bladed screws in the old days, like on the old socket. But new modern stuff, you're going to find a lot of Philly stuff, but they'll also have a groove for the regular screwdriver. So whatever works best is what you're going to use. And again, this one I'm going to hook, and I'm going to get it over this screw. Because I want to make a nice electrical connection. A lot depends on a good electrical connection, so you want to make sure you do this part right. I got that wire in there. Again, I'm going to hold it with my thumb, and maybe even just like poke it down there a little bit. And lefty loosey, righty tighty, turning clockwise to tighten it up nice and snug. Now that's like the hardest part right there, and we just completed it. So at this point, we're going to kind of push it down into position and make sure all our wires are good. Now the new sleeve has a cardboard insulator, and the job of this cardboard insulator is to keep these wires from touching the metal case, which would either give you a shock, kill you if you were standing in a saltwater puddle, or short out the lamp and cause your circuit breaker to trip. It's keyed to fit over whatever control whether it's a pull string, a knob, or a push in and out, it's keyed to fit over that. As well as your new case is keyed to fit over that. So we're going to line everything up. Now, this is a tricky part, but it's not that hard. And what we want to do is push that down and lock these keys into those little nubs there. So we want to make sure that we're lined up on the keys, and when we got it lined up, we're just going to push it down. And when they're covering up the little nubs, it's locked in there. Okay, so basically this lamp socket job is done at this point. What we're going to do now is put a new plug on. So just to show you how these instant plugs work, you kind of squeeze these together and you can pull this center part out, and then the wings open up, okay, and the wire comes out. Now we're not going to reuse this part. I told you we're going to shorten this guy up anyway, but we wouldn't want to reuse this because it's all bent and crushed in certain spots. So we're going to start fresh with a nice clean cut across the wires at any point, at any length you wanted. We're going to take our new instant plug. We're going to remove the center part. Now we're going to thread the lamp cord through the hole provided, and we're going to kind of snug that up the wire a little bit. We're going to take the center, we're going to spread the wings. Now what happens with this is there's these two little pointy things in there. You'll see one little pointy and one little pointy on each one of these tongs. When you stick the wire in the hole, and then to get it to fit into the white thing, you have to squeeze it. And as you squeeze it, those pointy things penetrate the insulation of the lamp cord and complete your electrical connection. And then we just kind of stick it in there as we're squeezing. And sometimes I find it necessary to use something to push it in that last little bit. Now what we may want to do is just straighten these out a little bit so that they fit good in your outlets. And this job is done. It's ready for testing. We're going to test it. So we're going to plug it in. We're going to put a bulb in there. A bulb that we know is good. And it has actually lit. That's a good sign. Now we're going to check the on-off function. Oh, great. This job is done. Now with this bottom issue, we're going to take care of that. But first, I always take the bulbs out if I'm working on any kind of lamps because I don't want to break them. So this old stuff they have under here is all dried and caked. We're just going to kind of scrape it off, because this is a porcelain lamp, so we're able to get in here with a blade and just kind of scrape everything off. And we're paying special attention to the edges, because where this recess is in and goes down, it's not really that important that I get all of this garbage off of that part, but it is very important that I get it all off the edges, because we want this lamp to sit nice and flat. So I'm going to spend an extra minute and make sure that I get it off the edges, and anything that sticks down like the lamp tube. Okay, there we go. I have gotten myself a 1-inch scraper. And we're going to finish up with some acetone to get the last of the residue off. And we're going to use an old rag. Check my video on making old t-shirts into shop rags. You'll find it very handy. Acetone is a good solvent. It's very aggressive. It's going to get all the gluey stuff off of there without damaging the porcelain. And it's also going to help prepare the surface for the self-stick glue that is on the new green felt that we're going to use. There we go, nice and clean. And that acetone helps prepare it for the self-stick on this green felt that we're going to use by cleaning all the residue off. Acetone is a really nice solvent. So what we're going to do is take our green felt, I'm going to turn it over. This white stuff on the back is like paper that you peel off and then the glue is underneath. So what we're going to do is place our lamp as far to the edges as we can get, because we're going to trim this to fit and we want like a bigger piece left as possible to use on other projects. We take our utility knife and we make sure it has a nice new blade in it because we want nice sharp cuts. And we're just going to roughly cut out the shape right now, because watch what we're going to do. Okay, this part we're going to save for other projects in the future. Whether we want to do like a drawer liner or inside a jewelry box or another lamp base or something like that, we're going to save that. We're taking this piece and we're going to peel our backing off of it. And I use the utility knife to help me instead of sitting there with my fingernail. Okay, and we got our prepared base here. We're going to make sure we got it lined up right. And we're going to lay that right on there. Okie dokie. That's looking nice. Now we're going to put it back down. And we're going to take our sharp utility knife and we're going to trace around the bottom, cutting away from my finger, and we're going to trim this green stuff to size. Actually, I'm switching for a new blade. I want to make sure I have the sharpest possible blade. Every time I use a utility knife, I want to make sure the blade is sharp as possible. Okay. So again, we're going to trace around the base of our lamp. Now, if you had a lamp that was like easily scratched or something like that, you'd want to be really careful with this part. But what you want to do is get the shape, because this protects your like tables and your fine woodwork from the bottom of the lamp, which is basically like a rough porcelain. Again, cutting away from my finger. My finger was here and I cut away from my finger. And we're just going to go around this guy and making our cuts. To our green felt. And the last cut back here, right around the base. Here we go, finishing up the last piece off. Now we're gonna go back around and maybe just do some little details. We want to make sure, because I know it's gonna slip off the porcelain and I want to cut this piece off, so I'm gonna make sure that my fingers are nowhere near there. And pushing firmly, I make the cut and trim it nice and neat. You see that? Like my finger's here, but I'm cutting that way. This part is really important because you don't want to get hurt doing any of these stupid little projects around the house, and getting hurt with a utility knife definitely sucks, because it's like you can't do it yourself. You got to go get stitches in the emergency room. All right, so the whole point of this is we want to protect the furniture and yet not have it like, maybe we want a little visible when the lamp's sitting because it makes it look like a nice finished project, but we don't want like big chunks sticking out, which I think we've achieved that at this point. How's that looking? How's that looking? Pretty good, huh? Yep. Okay, there we go. So you can see it moves nice and easy on this green felt now, and that's a professional looking job. It's too bad this lamp doesn't have a head, and we're going to throw it in the garbage. Look at that green felt, just got stuck all over it. And let's get one more shot here. And one little note, if you wanted to, let's say this was a bedside lamp, right? And it's always going to sit facing this way, and you're in bed over here and you want to reach over, you're going to want to make sure that the cord or the knob is in a position that's easy for you to get to. So what you would do is loosen up this screw on the collar down there, and then you can give this like the half a turn to like orient it and get it whatever position you want to orient it in, and then tighten that up again, and that's going to lock it in that position for you. So that every time you reach for it, it would be in the same spot and you can get used to it. And then we have our lamp shade, which basically goes on with these clips over the bulb. And if you find those are getting loose, you can just kind of bend them together with your fingers. And that just pops right over the bulb like that. And this has some nice decorative ribbons on it and stuff. Although it's old and ratty looking, it used to be a nice shade. It might still look good on video, but when you take a close look at it, it's all ripped on the inside, and but it probably used to be a nice shade. All right, there you go. Now this stuff is brass. There's some brass pieces. It's going to go in a meltdown bucket for recycling. There she is. If she had a head, it would be a pretty little lamp with the rip shade and all. Nice work on the bottom. Professional job. Alright, I hope you all learned something, gained some skills and some confidence to tackle a job like this yourself. I don't see any reason why anybody, and I mean anybody, male, female, old, young, could not take this job on and complete it successfully. Be careful with that freaking utility knife. They're so fucking dangerous. This was the danger tool. Be careful with these things. You got to keep the new blades in there when you use these things, because they're twice as dangerous with dull blades. So always keep a fresh blade in there. When it gets dull, switch it out. But for heaven's sake, this thing cuts fast and it cuts deep. And they're so sharp, you don't even feel it when you get cut. Just the blood just starts pouring. And you just got to like get stitches. I mean, there's no other way around it. So be careful with that thing. This stuff, dangerous solvent, just make sure you don't get it in your eyeballs or anything like that. As you can see, these, although ugly, double as safety glasses. And you won't catch me doing any jobs without my glasses on. Not only because I can't see stuff without them, but they double as safety glasses. It's really important. So rate and sub. See you later, users.